Welcome back to the Piney Woods Homestead, y'all. Today, Lisa is going to get out here and harvest the kohlrabi that we have ready, and there's quite a few of them. And then I'm going to get down here to this new golden fryer chicken coop and try to get pecking away at that a little bit. Tell us about these kohlrabi and what you're going to do.
So the kohlrabi that we have right now, I'm going to take and shred and ferment some kraut with it.
That sounds good to me. We like kraut, especially on some good old bright leaf hot dogs. I love bright leaf hot dogs. Lisa grew up on Jesse James.
Jesse Jones.
Jesse Jones. See, you can't even remember the name because it's not that good of a hot dog. All right, we're going to get on to the kohlrabi, y'all.
So kohlrabi is not something that a lot of people are familiar with, but it's actually been around since about the 1500s. It came to the U.S. It's dated back as early as the early 1800s. It's a super easy vegetable to grow. It's in the brassica family, so it likes cooler temps, but it doesn't take a lot of nutrients or space. I think we've got 36 just in half of this bed, and they're really good, as we like to use them to make homemade slaw. They have a similar flavor to a cabbage. You can roast them, you can stir fry them, but they're full of antioxidants and vitamins and fiber, so they're a great healthy vegetable to eat. And the greens can actually be eaten as well, and the greens are actually a superfood, and they taste similar to a collard. You would cook them the same, but the leaves we are probably going to give the pigs, so they have a little treat for today. And you can see they shape little oval bulbs, and you just want to go down underneath and snip it off, and then you will take the leaves off and you'll peel them, and then from there, like I said, you can shred them into a slaw, you can put them on salads, you can stir fry them, and you can also freeze them. But for freezing, you have to blanch them, so they would be good for using later on in soups or roasting them, stuff like that. But we like things that we could do with cabbage that when we don't have cabbage. And these are much quicker to harvest date too, from the time you start the seeds. So and you can see the different, they're not going to all be ready at the same time, which is a good thing. So that one's going to wait a little bit. And they store really well in the crisper. They'll store, if you put them in a Ziploc bag with a damp paper towel, they'll store 3 to 4 weeks, stay good.
Might need a bigger bucket.
I know. Well, they'd fit if I took the leaves off. But And that's the root of them. As you can see, they're really shallow rooted, so they don't need a super deep raised bed or container to grow in.
Now y'all, Lisa, she'll finish getting out the ones that are the size of a tennis ball or a little bit bigger. If you let them get too big, they'll get a little woody on you, and you want them tender. And another thing about these kohlrabi, my dad is allergic to cabbage, and he has been able to eat these without any kind of issue to his allergies. Not saying that you can eat them if you're allergic to cabbage, but it might be something that you can try. Lisa finished this up. She'll go in the house and process them. She's going to make some ferment today, and we'll show you that in the jars once she's done that. Now we're going to get down here to this chicken coop and get on this project because we need it here within 2 weeks to be complete. Shouldn't take me that long, I hope. All I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and get my sill plates down, reusing some of this old treated lumber that I had on this old bed frame. Then I can put my 2x4s down. Try to get these outside walls as square as possible so that when I put my cattle panels in here, everything lines up. The two hoops line up. So we'll see if I can get those fairly square. We'll move on from there. Basically, these 2x4s are going to act as runners. Cattle panel will go in there, I'll nail it in with some fence staples on both sides, and we'll have a hoop. A little bit hard bending over today with this old knee brace I'm sporting. Old injuries coming back to haunt me. After about 3 knee surgeries, planting that garden down there kind of messed me up for a few days. Had to get the ice and the Advil back out and the knee brace. Hopefully I can not have to put one on the other one too. Because I like working and it's hard to bend over and squat when you're wearing these stupid things. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, especially as you're getting older. On that 2x4 that I just put into the front, I've left me a gap on each side of it. And the reason for that is so that I can get my cattle panel up against these lateral 2x4s. If I butted them up tight, I wouldn't be able to fit it in there. And the way I've got this thing designed is so that I'll have just a little bit of overhang with that cattle panel. Gives a little bit more protection from the rain. Alright, I got my panels installed and I think that's all I'm going to do for the day on this project. That's kind of where I wanted to have a stopping point anyways. I'll get back out here tomorrow and work on the end walls and getting the door. I'll finish this thing up tomorrow, but for now I want to go up and check on Lisa and see how those kohlrabis are looking.
I've got all the kohlrabi, well not all of them, I've been doing it in small batches, peeled, and I just used the wide holes on a cheese grater. I have one of those fancy mandolin slicers, but after just about cutting the whole end of my finger off last summer, I don't use those. And all you want to do is just shred it up and then I just add salt as I go to taste so I don't get it too salty. And you can see the salt starts pulling the moisture out, which is going to be your brine. And then all I'll do is pack it into quart jars. You could make it in bigger batches, but I'm doing it in small quart jars because we have the air vent lids for fermenting that will allow you you just don't have to babysit them as much, because this has actually a little pinhole in it that will allow the gases to emit as it's fermenting, and it has a weight. I took one of the kohlrabi leaves, which will help keep the little pieces down under the brine, and then you put the weight on top of that, which will help keep it all pushed down tight, and then put the lid on there, and I'm going to stick it in the back of the pantry, and within 4 to 7 days you can start tasting it. Once it gets to the taste that you want, then, and that can take up to several weeks depending on how tart you want it, how fermented you want it. But once it's done, then all you do is take the vent lid off, put a regular lid on, and throw it in the fridge. And this will last a year in the refrigerator. And once it's fermented down, a quart is going to give you about a pint. And I'll actually probably take it out and put it in pint jars just for space purposes in the fridge. And once it gets to the saltiness that you want, you just want to take handfuls of it. And put it in here. And this helps to press out any air bubbles and really packs it in there tight. And then I'll just keep adding layers and packing it down as I go.
All right, y'all, that's all we got for today. Hope you enjoyed seeing the kohlrabi getting harvested, learned something about it. Give it a try for yourself. We really like the kohlrabi. It's great as she's doing it for kraut. It's also great as a substitute for a cabbage slaw. It's good on hot dogs and hamburgers, y'all, and with seafood. It's really good. And we got to work on that little chicken coop a little bit. We'll get that thing knocked out here in a couple of days. Those baby birds are a week old now, getting feathers. They're looking really good. Guys, subscribe if you hadn't, and if you have, we appreciate you, and hit that old like for us. We'd appreciate it. We'll see you on the next video. Have a good day and a great week.